In today's lecture, we are going to study Jane Eyre, written by Charlotte Bronte as a Gothic novel. In my earlier lectures, I discussed about the main characters of the novel, and the part second, I discuss about the theme of the novel. Uh, she was born on 21st April 1816 and she passed away on 31st March 1855. She wrote many novels. Green Dwarf appeared in 1833. Jane Eyre came into 1847. That is the masterpiece of Charlie Bronte. Will appeared in 1853. The Professor came into 1857. In my first lecture, I discussed about the main characters of the novel. That Jane Eyre is the protagonist of the novel. She's an orphan. She lives at Gateshead as nobody, and she suffers there. She suffers there emotionally, physically. She is tortured there by her maternal aunt, Mrs. Reed. She does not feel happy at Gateshead. For education, she moves to Lowood School, where she faces the Brocklehurst, the headmaster of that institution. He openly criticized Jenny Eyre that she's an outcast. She suffers there emotionally because it was declared in the public meeting that she's an outcast. But she gets the education, she becomes a teacher, she becomes a governess, and she moves to the Thornfield. Where we see here the struggle of Jenny Eyre. She happens to meet the master of that mansion, Mr. Rochester. The love between the two deepens and they are going to marry. But on the day of marriage, the liar says that Rochester cannot marry because he has a living wife, Mrs. Bertha. And the marriage could not take place. Jenny here runs from there. She reaches to Whitcross and she reaches to the Moore house where she happens to meet the Rivers family. And there is Mr. St. John. And in the St. John company, she gets the proposal of marriage. She rejects that she would not become his wife. She could become her missionary fellow, but she could not become his wife. And suddenly she remembers her old master. She reaches to the manor house where Rochester was living. That was the new house of Rochester, and both married together. See in what manner the story of Jenier moves from to Gateshead to the manor house. There are another character. Mr. Rochester is there. Mr. Reed is there. So many persons are there. But we see in what manner the struggle of Jenny Eyre begins. That is why some people say that it is a Christian novel. Some people say that it is an autobiographical novel. Some people say that it is a Gothic novel. Yes. Now the question arises, what is a Gothic novel? In the Gothic novel, there is an atmosphere of mystery and terror. We can say that the atmosphere of mystery and terror prevails the novel. There are scenes, there are incidents of death and decay. We have also the haunted house and castles in the novel. Sometimes we also see that the family suffers from the curses or some type of madness. There is an empire of ghost or vampirism. And the genre became popular with the publication of Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole in 1764. There are other themes of the novel, that God and religion, search for home, and the struggle of Jenny Eyre, and love and passion. But this theme also appears In what manner we can say that Jane Eyre is a Gothic novel? There are certain examples of the Gothic novel. First, Wuthering Heights, 1847, that was published and it was written by Emily Bronte. Bleak House came into 1853, written by Charles Dickinson. Dracula, another Gothic novel that appeared in 1897, written by Bram Stoker. But in this novel, Jane Eyre, we see Charlotte Bronte invests Gothic element with symbolic meaning. In what manner the Gothic element appears in this novel, Jane Eyre? There is a description of the Red Room at a Gatterhead. It looks like a prison, and we can say there is an atmosphere with horror. We also see that in the Red Room, what is the Red Room? Red Room is the place where Mr. Reed died away. It was a dark room. It has curtains of dimson cloth. We can say that here Charlotte Bronte uses this color as a metaphor of blood. One day, Jenny was locked in this room. Jenny saw some phantom of the white figure in the darkness. She's afraid. She's tortured there. There is atmosphere of fear, and in that manner, Jenny here suffers. Now we come to the at Lodi School, where Jenny here goes for study. She was not happy at this place, but she gets the good company of Helen and Miss Temple. There was an epidemic, and one day she slept with the dead body of Helen. That is chapter 9th of the volume 1st. She suffers emotionally, but she's also afraid about in what manner she slept with a dead body at the time of night. Now we move to the Thornsfield, where we meet the lunatic Bertha. Even Mr. Rochester is also of a very type of lunatic at temperature. We hear in the house the cries of horror and terror. These cries of lunatic Bertha, there is an atmosphere of fear. One day the house is burnt. Again, there is a fear of terror. Now, what happens when Mr. Rochester and Jenny plans to marry together? Before the day of marriage, Jenny happens to see a dream that a ghost is coming, and that ghost is trying to tear her bridal dress. She thinks that it is a very evil omen, and her fear is increased, and their marriage fails. Now, in what manner? Again, there is an atmosphere of fear in the mind of the protagonist, in the mind of Jane Eyre. Now she goes to Wheat Cross. She's lonely. She passes night in the jungle alone. Again, there is an atmosphere of fear. But when Saint John proposes her marriage, she refuses completely and returns to the burnt house. Again, she feels that it is an atmosphere of fear and terror. She reaches Moor House, and the Richard mansion was there. She happened to see Richard's mansion, whose one arm was almost soaked in blood. That is in volume 2nd, chapter 5th. Again, we see there is an atmosphere of fear and terror. And we can say in this manner, Jane Eyre is a Gothic novel, but we cannot say that it is a supernatural novel, that it is haunted by the supernatural elements. But Jane Eyre has tried to create an atmosphere of fear and terror. That's why we can say that it is a Gothic novel. In Jane Eyre, Rochester represents the Gothic hero of the secret past. This Gothic hero is proud, moody, and cynical man with defiance on his brow and misery in his heart, capable of deep and strong affection. At Jenny's first meeting, when Mr. Rochester, she notices his face, which was dark, stern features, and heavy brow. He turns out to be a man with a past, and his immoral life in Paris add to both the sense of mystery and repulsion for many readers. In this manner, we can say even the character of Mr. Rochester adds mystery to the theme of the novel. And we also see here in that manner Charlotte Bronte uses this genre to create an atmosphere of uh, female language for the sake of Christian values. Thanks.